We believe you should never finance a car ever again. And in this video, we are going to tell you exactly why. My name is Carmen.
And I'm Darius. And we're going to take a page right out of Robert Kiyosaki's book on how you should purchase your car. But first, let's talk about why you shouldn't purchase a car, or why you shouldn't finance a car, not purchase a car. Everybody needs transportation, but how you get there is dependent upon you. A lot of people like to get to their destination in style, and style costs. For some of us, it's more important that we get there in style than we have a roof over our head. So for some of us, it may be more important for us to get there in style than to invest our money.
Yeah.
Whatever your case is, that's where we were at one point. Because when we took a look at our finances just a few years ago, we saw that our mortgage was the first thing, and then the second thing was our car. That was our second largest expense that we had. We didn't have anything that was as expensive as our car. So what we were doing is we were driving around in our money that we could have invested in something that was making us money.
And it's, again, a different perspectives. We recognize that everyone is at different journeys within their financial lifestyle. So that's why we just want to make sure that we have this conversation. So when it is time for you to need another car, you have perspective of maybe how you need to make the next purchase. So what I want to do is just share with you some numbers really quickly, and then we'll talk through this whole process. But let's talk about a car that costs $30,000. And we're not going to get too much into the weeds. We're just doing like simple math here. So $30,000, let's say that this car interest rate is at 3% because you finance the car, right? So the bank is charging you 3% in order for you to have this auto loan. So that means your car payments are going to be $539 a month.
Right. So right off top, what I'm noticing is the fact that we're overpaying for this car in the form of interest, because we have to pay interest on this vehicle every single month. And one thing that we've learned about interest is that the longer you pay it, the more interest you pay.
Yeah. So
even though you think you see 3% on paper, it's going to be a lot more than that once it's all said and done.
Absolutely. So when we think about this 3% that we're going to be paying, the terms typically are about 5 years. Like that's the average car loan payment. And
now it's 72 months because cars are more expensive. So they're spreading out the payments over a longer period of time, meaning that you pay even more interest.
Yeah, because it takes you longer to pay down the car. So in this case, I just did a 5-year term, and that means a $30,000 car is going to cost you $32,343. So already the car price was $30. We have to overpay, right? Because the car costs us $2,300 more in interest, but we haven't even talked about the depreciation. So first and foremost, I just want you to understand the cost that goes into financing a car. And then we're going to break down the depreciation and some other points that we want you to understand, which is why financing a car may not be as desirable for you anymore.
Right. So if I'm just doing the numbers in my head, you said it's at 3% interest, $539 a month, and it comes out to
$2,343. in interest.
$2,343 in interest, and the car costs $30,000. So that's a little more than $3,000.
Yeah.
10% of $30,000 is $3,000. So we're closer to 10% than we are to 3%, right? if we're just comparing the volume of interest. So that's in itself a problem, because we could have invested almost $3,000 into something else that would put money into our pocket versus take money out of our pocket.
And that's why sometimes I feel like some people go, oh, well, I'm only paying 2%, or I'm only paying 1%.
I have a good interest rate.
Yeah, I have a good interest rate, but the volume of interest is what we're missing, because you're just looking at that small number going, oh, I'm getting a heck of a deal. But did you figure out what that deal is actually costing you?
Yeah, the only person that ever has a good interest rate, I don't care what the interest rate is, if you have to say I have a good interest rate, if I have an interest rate period, the only person that has a good interest rate is the person that you're paying.
That's a good perspective. You have to justify your interest rate. Oh, it's a good rate. It's a good rate.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth, especially when you're able to change positions or change seats or change hats.
No, that's bomb. I love how you said that. So let's talk about the very first point as far as why financing a car might not be desirable. The first thing is, we talked about the cost of the car, but the main thing is depreciation. Everyone knows that cars depreciate, but do you really understand what we mean when we say depreciation? Because it's like I found a quote out there where it said over 65% of the value of your car is depreciated in the first 5 years. Do you remember how long the term was that I just said that we were financing this car for? 5 years.
Right.
So 65% of my car's value is gone in 5 years, and I already overpaid for this thing at the start. Mm-hmm. It cost me $32,000, but what I get in value over the term of this is less than what I paid for.
Right. So not even 65%. Let's say your car is $30,000. Well, let's take this $30,000 car. Mm-hmm. You pay over 5 years. Mm-hmm. $32,300. Mm-hmm. But then when you go to sell that car, you can't sell it for more than $15,000.
Yeah.
So there's a huge chunk of money there that you spent that could have been used in something else just because of depreciation. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have to finance that car, that means you're investing in this car. And that is not a good investment, to invest in something that doesn't make you money. But not only is it not making you money, but over 5 years, you lose 65% of its value.
We're on the same wavelength, because that was the point I was going to say.
My bad.
No. We're in sync, right? It was just, I was thinking, like, what investment do we do where we spend this money and we justify that it's okay?
None.
Yeah, it's not.
It's only with cars we do that.
We're like, oh, we've accepted the fact that we're going to put money into this tank and it has a hole at the bottom and it's just bleeding money. And I don't understand why we've accepted that. Is it just because the need for transportation and it is what it is? Or is it because we accept the fact that we never have a plan for how we're going to buy cars, so we just have to deal with what they give us?
Yeah, so when your car falls apart and you don't have a choice but to buy a car and you don't have any money, you have to finance it.
Yeah.
Instead of us preparing for that cost.
That purchase.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times what I do is even if your car is paid off, continue putting that money into your savings account, because you're going to need another car eventually. And next time, let's not finance it, because not only will you pay interest, but that car is going to depreciate by 65% over 5 years.
Yeah. So you guys get the depreciation. Again, understand that concept, breathe it, and conceptualize it to just really understand that you put money in a gas tank and there's a hole at the gas tank and you have fuel leaving you. Mm-hmm. And especially with how gas prices are now, that should be even more motivation that you probably need to switch this plan up. The second point, of course, we just talked about the interest, but again, understanding the overpayment of things. I don't know why as consumers we just become okay with overpaying things. Oh, it's just interest. Oh, it's just, what we got to do. I
got a good interest rate.
Yeah, but again, you didn't have a plan, which is why you have to pay interest. Interest is the fee that you pay for not having your own money.
Yeah.
Think about it that way. That is the fee that I have to pay. I'm automatically losing money because I didn't plan for any of these purchases.
Right.
And we're okay as consumers, again, accepting this fee because we don't have the money.
Right. But that's just a reflection of where we are now when we take a look at the data for 2021.
Correct.
So it's just a reflection of that.
Yeah.
We've gotten so used to consuming. And I think that falls in the category. If we're okay paying 19-20% interest on a credit card, then we're going to be okay
paying 1% to 3%,
paying
5% on a car,
3-5% interest on a car. But that's only if you have good credit. Some people pay upwards of 15% or 18% on a car because they don't have good credit. But those people, they're kind of backed into the wall where they don't have good credit and they need transportation.
Absolutely. So the next point that we want to talk about is the maintenance. So we're already overpaying for a car. Now we have to maintain this sucker, which means that's even more money that's going out of this whole situation. So we have to pay gas. We have to do oil changes, unless you have an electric car. If you have an electric car, this isn't really pertain to you, but we're talking about
electricity is a cost.
That is true. Windshield wipers, tires, tire rotations, the list goes on, everything. Now we haven't even factored in what we need to budget to maintain this car, even after the overpayments come in. So when you have to, again, think about what is happening with all of these purchases that we go into, because we spend blindly, and that's where we get in trouble, where we go, okay, I can afford $539 a month. That works for me, so I'll get this car, as opposed to looking at the big picture of, okay, this car cost me $32,000. Every year it's going to cost me maybe $1,500 to $2,000 to maintain. Can I afford that in addition to paying $539 a month?
Right. And this is an opportunity to look at the overall picture also, because what you're saying is I can afford to pay $539 a month, which means I can also afford to give away $17,300, right?
Yeah.
I could just throw $17,300 out of the window, because remember, we're paying $2,300 in interest, and then my car is going to depreciate minimum 50% in 5 years. So half of the car value, $30,000, is $15,000 plus the $23,300 in interest. That comes to $17,300 that we just threw out the window.
All out the window.
So what can we do with $17,300?
Invest. Make that money make money.
We can make that money make money. That $17,000 is a good amount of money to invest and maybe make $100, $250. Now, where we're getting at is one point that Robert Kiyosaki made in his book that we read, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And what he mentioned is the fact that even when he was working in corporate America and he wanted his new car, he had his investments pay for that car. So it didn't come out of his pocket. It came out of money that was making money. And that's what we should focus on doing. Instead of financing our car, we should take that money that we were going to put into that car and use it for investments, because how we make money is how we're going to improve our financial situation and how much we work moving forward. Because remember, there's one thing that we can never get back, and that's time. We can always make money. We can even borrow money from somebody else, but we can't get back our time. And for the amount of effort that we're putting in to earn this income, we should be making better financial decisions with it. And financing a car where we're losing 65% of its value on top of paying interest is not a good investment of your time or your money. So let's put that into some type of investment so that we can earn $539 a month and have that pay for our new car, instead of us doing it out of our income that we get every 2 weeks.
And I think the other thing too is, as you were sharing that, I was thinking about affordability. Can you really afford a car? And maybe you get to a point, because remember we said everyone is at a different place in life. Can you get to a point where your investments are paying for your vehicles and it makes sense? And that's where you determine what your affordability is. You know, instead of you coming to the car lot and going, I can afford $539 a month. What are my investments paying me that will allow me to afford XYZ car?
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to touch on, we'll go back to Robert Kiyosaki really quickly. But something I was kind of derailing with is I think people, again, get that instant gratification and they look at the shiny object syndrome, and they may be driving a car right now that you're not paying on. But then all of a sudden you get the itch because you need the new technology and you need this and you need that. And next thing you know, you're overpaying for a car because you traded the old car in. First world problems, we like to call that, where the shiny object is making you broke. So those are things, again, that we want you to think about. If you're in a situation right now where you have a car that you're not paying on, it's paid for, don't get another car until your investments can pay for the new car.
That's how you know when you are able to get a new car, is when you have enough passive income coming in to take care of it. That's how you know when you can afford a lot of things, when your passive income can take care of it. Because if you don't, you keep pushing yourself further and further back for when you're able to retire. And that's what we all want to work towards. And I think that's something that we should put at the front of our mind instead of the back of our mind as to how we make financial decisions on a day-to-day basis. Is this taken away from the amount of money that I can use to make more money? And if it is, it's prolonging my ability to retire and relax and have my money work for me while I kick my feet up.
That's a good point. Now, another option that you can do, which is something that we talk about all the time on this channel, channel is utilize the cash value inside of your whole life insurance policy to finance the purchase of your next vehicle. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, Darius and Carmen, I don't have $30,000 in my policy to do so. You can take whatever is available and then match a bank loan to that, the difference, and then work on paying the bank loan off first and then the policy. Because what you want to do in the end is the same $539 that you were paying eventually will come back to you once you stop making payments on the bank payment, so to speak. And all of that is just coming back to your policy. And now you're the one recouping the $2,300 in interest or more if you're charging yourself more than 3%. And all of that money is funneling back into your own banking system. So you are controlling the principal and interest payments that are going to be coming back into your system. So It's all about, again, understanding what your options are, because a lot of times people will just say, well, I'll just pay cash for my vehicle. Well, if you drop $30,000 on a car, on a depreciating asset, again, you never see that money again. So again, ask yourself, are you okay with sending $30,000 to the bank and never seeing that money again? That's money that we will lose in this wealth building journey. And every time we go to pay cash for things, that's money that we are losing, and we are continuing to keep ourselves or jeopardizing our wealth because of the money that we're spending that we're not getting back.
Right. And if you want to learn more on how we financed our little car through our life insurance policy, then check out this video up top so that you can get the details of how we financed our car.
Absolutely. Now we really just want to make sure that you all understand that we get it. Everyone are at different points in their financial journey, but it's again about learning and doing better once you get that knowledge. So if you're at a point where you're financing a car, all right, we got to chalk that one up as a lesson learned. Then what are you going to do starting today that's going to put you in preparation for the next car that you need to finance? Because you know what's coming down the line. Mm-hmm. You know, each car is going to last at least 10 years. So you have time to get ahead of the game as far as getting some investments, getting some cash flow going so that you can start letting your money make money and let that money be the money that's going to help you finance your next car.
Right.
So you have time for this. But again, it's about understanding what you got to do and then start applying the knowledge so that you can do better with the next purchase.
Right. So if you got $17,300, if you want a $30,000 car and you got $17,300 to throw it out of the window, then what we want you to do is we want you to connect with us and send us that money. Because if you want to throw it away, throw it this way.
P.O. Box. You ready? Write it down. Because if you're okay throwing it away, we ain't. We'll definitely collect.
We're okay collecting it. Yeah.
I love that point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that this information was valuable again for you. Let's recap the information. We said the 3 things that you need to remember: depreciation, interest, and maintenance. Calculate all of those numbers before you go buy a car, and then determine how much are you willing to pay for this depreciating asset, knowing all of the money that you are going to have to spend. We talked about a $30,000 car with a 3% interest rate for 5 years. It's going to cost you $2,343 in interest.
Just a little more than 3%.
Yeah, it's close. It's definitely not 3% over the volume, right? We're talking about 5 years of you paying 3%. That compounds. That compounds, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just 3%. And the one thing that we didn't share, we did the evaluation for a $30,000 car. 2 years later, the value is $27,000. Did you hear that? The value is $27,000. So the price of the car was $30,000. The value of it today, a 2-year-old car, if I was supposed to sell it, I can sell it for $27,000. So I'm selling it for $3,000 less than the purchase price, but I'm still on the hook for $32,000. That doesn't sit well. And it's only been 2 years.
We had that experience before, haven't we?
A few times. We didn't like that.
Yeah.
With every car we bought, every time it was financed.
No, I'm talking about with the car being on the water where you, remember Dino?
Oh, yeah. And we called one of our cars Dino. So Dino, we were underwater.
Yeah.
Where we owed more than the value of the car. So already this is what's happening, and it's only been 2 years if you're making your payments of $539 a month.
Is it worth it? I don't think so. Well, if you want more information like how we financed our car, or you want information on how to use that $17,000 to invest in some type of passive income, then check out this next video where we're talking about passive income.
And don't forget to own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.